This section, we will talk about regional trade agreements, or RTAs. As for this, firstly, we must make clear what's RTA. Generally speaking, RTA is trade agreement between two or more countries or economies in which they encourage free trade between each other, but not for the rest of the world. The most important forms of RTA include FTA, that's Free Trade Area or Free Trade Agreement, and Customs Union. As for FTA, the cases include CAFTA, that's China-ASEAN Free Trade Area, or NAFTA, that's North America Free Trade Agreement. As for the Customs Union, the outstanding case is the European Union. RTA can be regional or cross-regional. For example, CAFTA is regional RTA because all of its member countries belong to the Asia, while China-Chile FTA is cross-regional RTA because China is an Asian country, but Chile belongs to the Latin America. Because RTA encourages free trade among members while keeping trade barriers towards non-member countries, so it violates WTO's most favored nation principle. But according with what we have introduced in the former section, RTAs is an exception of WTO's most favored nation principle. This has been written into Article 24 of GATT and Article 5 of GATT. Just because of this, WTO members are permitted to create RTAs with other countries. Even so, they are required to notify to the WTO about the formation of the RTA. Nowadays, every member of the WTO participated into at least one RTA. Somebody says that in today's world exists two parallel trends. One is globalization. The other is regional economic integration. The former facing lots of challenges, while the latter developed fast. That's exactly right. WTO is a symbol of globalization, but made lots of problems. However, RTAs, as the symbol of regional economic integration, developed robust in the past decades. In fact, RTAs is a major and perhaps irreversible feature of today's world trade relationship. If we view WTO as the multilateral trade regulation system, then RTAs is the regional trade regulation system. For example, if you are a businessman who imports products from Vietnam, you must get to know that China and ASEAN 10 countries have signed a free trade agreement, that's CAFTA. Lots of products from ASEAN 10 countries to China enjoy zero tariff rates. Vietnam is one member of ASEAN, so you must make clear whether the products you import from Vietnam enjoy the preferential tariff rates. If so, you must supply for a certificate of origin from Vietnam's Ministry of Commerce to show that the products are made in Vietnam. By this way, you can enjoy professional tariff rates and save lots of money. Because FTA and Customs Union are two important forms of RTAs, so here we must have a deep understanding about the differences between these two kinds of RTAs. Simply put, FTA area is an agreement that allows free trade among members, but each member can have its own trade policy towards non-member countries. While Customs Union is an agreement that allows free trade among members and requires a common external trade policy towards non-member countries. So, we can find that compared with Customs Union, FTA is more flexible and easier to be created. Why? It's because FTA does not ask all the members to negotiate for a common external trade policy. Just because of this, FTA is more popular than customs union. Most of RTAs take the form of FTA. How about the development of RTAs in the past decades? From Figure 1, we can find that before 1990s, the development of RTAs was very slow. Well, after that, RTAs developed fast. By 2017, more than 650 RTAs notified to the WTO. Among them, more than 440 came into force. What's more, here we must point out that RTAs are evolving from Generation 1 to Generation 2. That means we have Generation 1 RTAs and Generation 2 RTAs. The traditional RTAs, for example, NAFTA, CFTA, China-Pakistan FTA, and so on, can be classified into Generation 1 RTAs. Well, TPP, that's Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. TTIP, that's Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership Agreement. RCEP, that's Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, or 10+6, that's 10 Asian countries plus China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, India, and New Zealand. And FTAP, that's Free Trade Area of the Asia Pacific, are Generation 2 RTAs. Compared with Generation 1 RTAs, Generation 2 RTAs has 3 characteristics. One is bigger. For example, TPP, RCEP, FTAP are all very big. Even TTIP only comprise 2 economies, but the USA and the European Union are the biggest 2 economies of the world. The second nature of Generation 2 RTAs is deeper, which means they talk about more topics, even include anti-corruption, money laundering, illegal immigration, and so on. The third characteristic is more political. As for Generation 2 RTAs, we must recognize that they have more obvious political color. How about the welfare effects of RTAs? This question is complex and difficult to answer. One American economist called J. Wiener has analyzed the welfare effect of customs union on member countries with 2 important conceptions. One is trade creation and the other is trade diversion. The result shows the effect is ambiguous. What's trade creation? Trade creation occurs when high-cost domestic production is replaced by low-cost imports from other members. What's trade diversion? Trade diversion occurs when low-cost imports from non-members are diverted to high-cost imports from member nations. The result of Wiener's analysis depends on which effect is more obvious, trade creation or trade diversion. Unfortunately, the result shows it's not clear. It just depends. But here, I want to make clear 3 points. The first is Wiener's analysis is only a static analysis, even is classic but not meaningful. The second is that Wiener's analysis is about RTA's welfare effects on member countries, which is depends. However, RTA's welfare effects on non-member countries are clear, that's negative. As for this, lots of experts have pointed out. The third is that, compared with static analysis, dynamic effects of RTA is more meaningful. The dynamic effects include economies of scale effect, competition reinforcement effect, the stimulus of investment effect, even avoiding marginalization effect. Why countries rush to forge RTAs since 1990s is mainly because of the dynamic effects of RTAs. How about China? Here, we must point out that China started to find regional cooperation only since the end of the 1990s. The first FTA China has signed is with ASEAN in 2010. But the development of China's RTA strategy is fast. According with the information of China's Ministry of Commerce, by August 2019, without upgrading FTAs, China has signed and implemented 15 FTAs. Besides this, China has 10 FTAs under negotiation, 6 FTAs under consideration. Nowadays, China pays more attention to RTA, especially FTAs. The government deems the FTA as a new platform to further open up to the world and speeding up domestic reforms, an effective approach to integrate into global economy and strengthen economic cooperation with other economies, as well as particularly an important supplement to the multilateral trading system.